Hit me. Hello. This should be live now, and welcome to Pulse Publishing's first ever AMA live streaming event. I'm Loren Coleman. I'll be your host tonight. I have a few other people lurking in the background here. So if you hear another voice come across the channel, probably Talon, our technician, and also happens to be my son, who helps me set up all these kind of things for different companies. And I believe we have our editor lurking in the background as well, chief editor for Pulse, in case there's any questions I need to direct to him. So it looks like we have 6 people right now hanging out, and we'll just take some questions as we need to. And there's looks like we got another person just signed in. Great. Hey DJ, how's it going? Hi Chris, how you doing? If I look around, it's because I got a chat window here and my video over here, and I just tend to look around to see, make sure everything's still working. So let me see, we move around some of these screens to keep from looking down so much. And move this. So I'm just going to ramble for a few minutes to see if anyone else joins in. And so this is what's called an AMA event. It's basically Ask Me Anything. We'll start with Kickstarter and publishing, and we can devolve from there. We're going to run this for up to 1 hour, or until we all get bored and decide we've had enough. Obviously, this is Pulse's first time doing this, so we expect it to be a pretty low turnout. I've done ones with like 70, 80, 90 people in it. It can get crazy, but it's fun. It can be fun too. Where else can you hold a convention panel in the safety of your own house? This is my front room area. I moved my computer out here from my office because otherwise you'd just be looking at a couple of like white closet doors behind me. I'm in a new place and I haven't really decorated fully yet. So I decided like at least the main living room was better than big white wall. Very boring. And a few people have joined in. Hello, how you doing? We're just giving it a few minutes before we start the Q&A session, just so people can still, people are still probably trying to sign in to the whole thing. So, and yes, you can, yes, DJ and anyone else, please feel free to start putting some questions into the chat window. So when I start answering them in a few minutes here, I'll have something to go to. I've also got some questions in the back of my head I know I can answer for the video. And if that all fails, I can do a dramatic reading for my new book of poetry. Because you should always have a book of poetry nearby in case you just need to spend some time doing things. So yeah, those of you who looked into crowdfunding your fiction and other things we're doing, one of the things we keep suggesting are ways to interact with your fan base, ways to provide things to do, stretch goals. And for fiction, it's kind of hard because when we're finished writing our story, it's all there, or our nonfiction book in this case, it's all there. So we can do some bookmarks and a few other things, but we need more interactive things like these kind of videos. Now, it does take someone with a little technical knowledge, like Talon, who set this up for me. I just logged in and literally just pushed a couple buttons, and I was live and ready to go. So, but this is an option if you don't mind this kind of thing. It can be fun, and I think readers and fans generally enjoy this kind of interaction because they don't do that very often. So, just one more thing to put on your list of possibilities for the future. So, with that, we are hitting 6:05, and I will start answering some questions, and I will also just intersperse some other thoughts as we go. And look, we're up to 9. We're about to, we're about to go to double digits. Awesome, isn't that exciting? All right, the first question came from DJ, and why did you decide to start Pulse Publishing when you have a publishing company already? ? Diversity? No, marketing. So I think I said in my video, I've run several Kickstarters, mostly over in tabletop gaming. I have a very successful game publishing company called Catalyst Game Labs, and we've done 7 or 8 campaigns over there. We've been in business since 2003, I think, initially, and we even ran a $2.6 million campaign in 2019. And we publish a lot of games We also publish game-related fiction over there, and I've also published 25 novels through New York and other places, mostly involving IP-related fiction, like BattleTech, one of my favorite universes to write in. I love it, so much fun. But because we wanted to do, I wanted to branch out and do other things, other publishing ventures of my own as well as for other people, and it wasn't appropriate to. Catalyst Game Labs was just the wrong platform, so I gave up. I gave up some of the bigger platform I had there to branch out and be able to treat other properties and not have them overshadowed by BattleTech or Shadowrun. So kind of diversity, Deej, but not exactly. It was more of a marketing decision. So people that signed into Pulse knew what they were, would know what they're getting into. People over at Catalyst know what they're getting. It just kept things nice and clean. So that's why I started initially Pulse Publishing. And that was because John Helfers brought a project to me one day and said, hey, we got this great idea called A Secret Guide to Fighting Elder Gods, a young adult Lovecraftian anthology. And time for props. And anyway, so John pitched this to me and had an editor for it, but we wanted a good place to do it. And Catalyst would have kind of worked, but this just worked better. So we did it as an ebook first. Then we did the Kickstarter back in 2020 to do the physical books. We did a nice hardback case-bound edition and a really nice, what we call leather soft, kind of a fake leather, nice little glossy foil stamped leather edition. It's very pretty. So that's how Pulse Publishing got going. The next project we did with Pulse Publishing was then the Crowdfunding Your Fiction nonfiction book. And Pulse has a bunch of other projects just kind of waiting out there to get going. It was just it's for special projects, and we're going to start building a list of things to keep doing in the future. More things like the Fighting Elder Gods YA anthology, more things like potentially the nonfiction book. But I went there first because I wanted to really promote Kickstarter as a market. That was the whole plan, is to help a bunch of writers who are already on Amazon or Drafted Digital or any other platforms to realize they're missing out on a big market, and that's the Kickstarter market. So that's kind of the history of Pulse Publishing, why I started a whole new publishing company, and kind of the start of where we're going with Crowdfunding Your Fiction, a best practices guide. Let me just jump down to look at another quick question. What time frame do you recommend for fiction Kickstarters? I think you mean, I'm guessing you mean how long it should take from start to finish. Chris, if that's not right, please let me know. So as we're working on the best practices guide, as you saw in the video, maybe you read in the campaign, the reason we did that was to create some standards that everyone can rely on. So you can always do whatever you want. That's what the beauty of Kickstarter. There's no wrong way to do it. But I think it helps to have a baseline so that when you get going, if you want to just be completely down the middle, you know exactly what should be expected of you. And it removes a lot of the stress of doing your own campaign, a lot of the fear of doing your own campaign. At least that was the plan. Because so many writers were telling me, yeah, I'd like to do that, but it seems like it's really hard, or I haven't had time to learn it, or whatever their excuse they were giving me. The reason was they didn't know that it really isn't that hard. Yes, you have to learn a few new tricks. Yes, it takes a little bit of time, but not, compared to like the time of writing a novel. I mean, seriously, anywhere from 4 weeks to 4 years for some people. Like, after all that work, why wouldn't you put your fiction on every market you can? And Kickstarter is a great market. I mean, Elder Gods did $12,000. Does it compare to the 2.6 million? No, but I didn't care. Each project is its own thing. Each project has its own chance for success or not. And that let me do these great physical books that these wouldn't have been done. We would never have done this without Kickstarter. We would put it out in digital. That would have been it. And nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. But we wanted to do these, and Kickstarter let us do them. So that's why I think this is an important market. It lets you try new things, get your feet wet. And as you saw, a few people out there, great writers who've done this recently, from Brandon Sanderson to Terry Brooks to to Michael. I mean, they're running $100,000 Kickstarters. You think there's not a market, you know, in Kickstarter when people are running $100,000 campaigns, $50,000 campaigns? You know, one person, a brand new person, just ran $1 million campaign. I think it's the first time I've seen a brand new first-time creator do $1 million campaign on publishing. Now, over in tabletop, that's no longer very new. It happens a lot over there, but this was really good for publishing. And this is a very long intro to get to Chris's question, I haven't forgot, about the standards we're trying to create, a best practices guide to bring everyone up to the same level so we can start doing more and more fiction publishing here. So the question was, again, back to that, what is the best length for a Kickstarter run, Kickstarter campaign? I've actually modified my thinking over the last 6 months on this. I really think 3 weeks, or like you might see, as you'll see in the book when it comes out, 22, I think it was 22 days, because you want to start on a Tuesday, and in my opinion, you want to end on a Tuesday. There's a little bit of debate on the end date, but you always want to start on a Tuesday. It's simply the single best day to start. And 3 weeks gives you a good run. 2 weeks can work, but you may miss some people who just don't log in as much, may miss your campaign. But the first 3 to 5 days is your platform, what you can drive, excuse me, to the campaign. The last 2 to 3 days is what people checking on what's ending soon will come to your campaign. That middle period, as you might see, there's like kind of a flat line, very small growth curve in that middle couple weeks. And that's just people who just kind of fall over and find you along the way. Maybe one more person looks at your Facebook page, or a Kickstarter is surfing publishing. Those are the people who make up like the third of your or so of your backers. But if you wait too long, you will lose energy. 4 weeks is a long time to wait if you are just on that death march slog of like 1 or 2 people a day. There's nothing, again, it just feels low energy. So 3 weeks allows you to do some cool stuff, get in, get through, get out, and try to maintain your energy level. 2 weeks is even better. You know, it's just fast. But you are leaving behind people that would have come to you and not only backed your campaign, but then would become readers of yours for future campaigns. So that's why I like that 3 week period. And then you will adjust that based on your marketing plan, your platform, what you are trying to accomplish. Nothing is static. You always have to basically look at it from your point of view and go from there. But that you can't go wrong with like a 22-day frame from Tuesday to Tuesday, 3 weeks in a day, and work with that. So let me see the next question. What's that? Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, what do you need, Talon? Thank you. So Talon, you may not have heard Talon as he whispered in my ear here, but he wanted me to make sure I pointed out that this doesn't just apply to fiction. Most of these rules apply to Kickstarter in general, and they definitely work for nonfiction, fiction, children's fiction, young adult fiction. The whole point about the best practice guide is it will work for all of publishing for the most part, and it will work off topic as well. When you start changing categories, like if I were to go back over to tabletop, most of this would apply, but some things would be a little different. I'd have to tweak back into place. So always study your category. Kickstarter, you know, as a whole will always work the same. Each category might have a few different vague changes you got to learn, but this will work for other brands or other categories. It will work for almost anything under publishing. So I know we have some nonfiction people out there as well. This is going to work for you too. Obviously, I ran a nonfiction campaign in the fiction category. It all comes down to your plan. I wanted to promote to writers, to fiction writers and readers. So I thought being in the fiction category was the better plan than being over in the nonfiction category. People would be more likely to find me on my topic. So let me quick look here for another question. Okay. And Rebecca Kellogg, I hope I said that right. Rebecca, seems like you've been having a lot of fun with this campaign. What are your thoughts on making the whole process as fun as possible for both yourself and the readers? Great question. And like I said, energy level matters a lot on Kickstarter. It's a much more personal platform than, say, Amazon Kindle publishing. You've got you're putting yourself out there a little bit. You're interacting with your fans a lot more, and keeping your energy level up is huge. So if you're not having fun, and there's actually even a story in the book about this very thing where I have consulted with people, and one of the questions I've actually had to ask a friend of mine who was running campaigns is, do you like Kickstarter? And he's like, oh, I never use Kick. I never publish on Kickstarter. I never back other Kickstarters. I only publish here. I'm like, I see one of the problems you're having. If you're not enjoying Kickstarter itself, like if you don't surf yourself and find things to back, if you're not enjoying the process, maybe you're not the best campaign creator either, because you need to know what appeals to you so you can make your campaign appeal to others. That's why I really think everyone should always back a project now and then, if nothing else, just for the practice and to see what's changed, because Kickstarter is always changing, and just keep yourself involved. So yes, absolutely, Rebecca, make it fun for you, and so you make it fun for your readers, and keep your energy level up as much as possible. 3 weeks. I mean, some of these days, you want to click like, oh, only $3 a day, only $13 a day. I don't care. I get one backer in a day. I get excited about that person because that person believed in me, and I'm going to try to help them do what I'm doing, what I've done. And to me, that's exciting. So I will like nothing more than to see, dozens of you out there go run successful campaigns and make this a better platform for all of us. So yeah, energy level is huge. Let's see. DJ again. Keeping all that in mind about post-publishing, what is typically a good route for a fiction writer using Kickstarter? There's no good answer to that, Deej. Seriously. I've seen people start with anthologies, start with story collections, start with novels, start with entire serials. I think it helps if you have a platform, some platform. By platform, I mean, how many people can you reach out to and say, hey, all of you, I'm doing this, come check it out. Because for every 100 people you talk to, you might get 5 or 10 to back you on that particular campaign. So if you can talk to thousands of people, great. Tens of thousands, even better. But I've watched campaign creators with small platforms run successful campaigns. Just recently, someone who was a best practices person ran a campaign for, I think she wanted $800 because she understood her platform, and $800 is what she needed to make this market worthwhile to her. I saw another person do a small story collection. She had run like 3 of these, and she wanted like $250 or $400 for a story collection. Again, very small platform, very new writer, but if you do the math, she got paid from Kickstarter the same amount as if she had sold every one of her stories to like Asimov's or Hillary or Ellery. Wow, my brain is shorted on the mystery series. Hell, Chris, help me out here. You know them. Asimov's or Analog or the mystery magazine. I can't remember. She got paid a professional rate to publish it herself, and then she could go on and move on to Kindle and all the other ones. So she was doing, she did great on that. So there's no level at which this is good or bad. If you have the right expectations, if you have the right, platform for what you want to get out of this, and you set realistic goals. Ellery Queen, thank you, Chris. I knew I was close. Couldn't quite get there. Ellery Queen magazine. If you have the right platform and you know what you're doing, the right expectations, you can be successful at any level on Kickstarter. Again, I have failed campaigns. I have run a $1,000 campaign and considered it a great success. I have run a $2.6 million campaign and considered it a moderate success, only because I could have done it better. I always can do it better next time. So DJ, that's what I say is like there is no typical good route. It's what are you writing? What are you passionate about at the moment? So you could bring that passion to the campaign, and that will get you where you want to go. All right, let's see. Advice for doing your very first Kickstarter from Chris York. That is extremely generic. Advice for doing your very first Kickstarter: be a best practices backer. I know that's self-serving, but there is so much information that if you have surfed Kickstarter at all, you've seen there's a lot of info out there, good, bad, and different, just a lot of it. And the guide is there to help you focus your research and cut hours, if not days, if not weeks off of your ability to actually go accomplish something. It will help you ask the right questions. It will help you look at other campaigns better to be able to get the information you need to run your campaign as quickly as possible. So that's why I did this. If you're a brand new person, the best place to start on Kickstarter is really just do it. There is no penalty. There is no downside to trying and failing here. None. No one will remember tomorrow except you, and you will learn so much doing it that your next campaign, you will be light years ahead. Now, in the end, I think best practices is working. I know at this point, with the latest batch that just went through, at least 22, 23 people that I know have been best practices readers on Teachables and other people I've let see this material early have all run campaigns. Of the 23 or 22, 23 people who've done it, I think 2 have failed. And the one of them that failed did it for a reason that just it's not fair to him. It was just, he went for an audiobook campaign. The word audiobook tends to not be fair because it turns off readers. So he should have just run a fiction campaign and included an audiobook reward. But so I really think he just pitched it wrong to the backers. So, but 22 out of 24 or 21 out of 23 is an amazing rate. Now, is that all because of best practices? I don't know. It could just be because the market's getting better on Kickstarter, so everyone's going to be more successful no matter what. But as the stats say, only about, I want to say a little less than half of all, somewhere around half will fail usually, and only about 20% roughly, I think it was, will ever do more than $10,000 in a campaign. Nothing wrong with a $500 campaign or a $1,000 campaign, but of course we all want to try to get that that level up as high as possible. The stats are the stats, and they're always changing. I'm watching the publishing stats change in front of me every time I see another campaign that does better than I expect it to do. So just get started. What's that, Talon? Sure. Expectations and attitude. I was just trying to. Is that the next question, Talon? Okay. So I'll just spin off into that because it's always a good topic. Whether or not you're talking about where to start or anything else, your attitude and expectations is huge. You've got to come at this in a learning mindset at least at first. You have to come at this knowing you're learning something at least a little bit new, and give yourself permission to experiment. That you're trying to break into this new market. And a lot of that attitude will bleed into your energy level and the type of campaign you run, but it will also help you set good expectations. In the guide, there's going to be an entire piece of one of the chapters is on funding goals. And then there's a whole other appendix on funding and how to pick a funding level, because there's all over the map, and there's so many ways to think about it. I try to give you 2 or 3 ways to think about your funding levels, because that's how you will set your goal, and you'll measure the success as to how well you achieved your goal or not, or overachieved your goal. Is there anything wrong with a $10,000 campaign? No. If you think you can hit it, if your platform is big enough. Is there anything wrong with a $1,000 campaign? No. If you are a best-selling writer, a New York best-selling writer, and you come on Kickstarter and you think you need to run a $1,000 campaign, think again. you can set your bar a lot higher. You have to realize where you are in the market, how good your personal platform is to reach out to people, and then you give it your best shot. Now, what I usually tell people in consultations is wherever you think you should be, okay, I'm going to go for a $5,000 campaign. Great, cut it in half. Okay, wherever you think you should be, initially, cut it in half, and it's better to overachieve, especially your first time out, because setting your goal even at a reasonable level and then not hitting it is frustrating for anybody. So set your bar a little lower and overachieve the first time, and use it as a learning experience. Again, moderate your expectations and realize what you're trying to accomplish. What is your plan? Are you, is this a straight I need to earn this, or this is a production approach? Like, well, to do what I want to do, I must reach X, or I'm just trying to publish. Even one new reader is one new reader, and I want that person. Both approaches, nothing wrong with it, but that's why you need to have a marketing plan in your head, if nothing else, and you set your expectations based on that. Sorry, should have read some water when I was doing this. Anything you'd recommend for a first-time author for fiction? That's from Sam Linton. And tell if I missed something in there, make sure you let me know. But Sam, I'm not sure if you mean as far as like a first-time author for fiction, if you mean like what I would recommend for your Kickstarter campaign. If you didn't catch the first of this, you can always watch it on video. But what I said was, whatever you're writing, if you're writing short stories, then do a collection, do a 8-10 story collection, and see where you go with this. If you're a first-time author trying to break into Kickstarter, nothing wrong with that. I've seen it happen. I'll tell you one thing I would say you should not do. What you should not do as a first-time writer on Kickstarter: do not run a campaign until you have finished writing the story, novella, novel, whatever it is you're doing. That kind of, that work under contract, getting advanced and then doing the work, then getting, then publishing it. That works through New York, and it works for professionals who've done this before. It's a lot of pressure if you've never done that kind of writing before, like writing, getting money and then going and writing it to make that contract is more pressure than you really want as a first-time writer on Kickstarter. Finish the work first, then put together a campaign. I would suggest that even to New York published long-time writers, even like myself. I've got 25 published novels, just scores of novellas and short stories, and I've worked on video games, other things like that. I still really wouldn't want to put together a Kickstarter on a campaign on Kickstarter until the work is done. I didn't do best practices until the work was done. So that would be my biggest rule for a first-time author. Finish the work or works, whatever it is you want to do, then run the campaign. That way you already have the success of finishing your project behind you, so you know you can do it. The campaign, finding audience is what we're all trying to do. Audience comes after the craft, okay? Art first, then audience. And that will help a lot. I'm going to look here real quick. I'm going to scroll around. Give me 1 second. I'm not sure I didn't miss anything.
The question that you missed was, speaking of markets, should Kickstarter be used for marketing a finished work or to fund the writing? I've seen both, but the second
Deej had
seems
a great question.
risky.
Speaking of markets, should Kickstarter be used for marketing a finished work or to fund the writing? I've seen both. Deej, as I just said, try not to use Kickstarter to fund writing you haven't done yet. Finish the writing. Do the content and then market the content. That's always a better plan. Now, there's two big ways of doing Kickstarter. I mentioned them briefly earlier: project-based and market-based. There's a chapter on this in the guide as well. Project-based says, I want to create a physical book. I want to do 100 copies because I want, for Kickstarter and for conventions, I need, $1,200 to do this. I need that much money to do the project I want to do. So you set your goal at roughly $1,500 because, Kickstarter will take their cut. Now you have to basically, overshoot and then, come back down. That's a project-based approach. Market-based approach is, I'm just looking for whatever's here. I want one more reader, 10 more readers. I want to play with this. Now you still, don't do quite what I did and set like $100, level. I did that kind of for fun and just to prove there is no magic funding level that helps you. But you want to set a reasonable number that gets people excited about finishing this and getting over that bar and moving on. But a market-based approach is I'm just treating this as one more platform. Draft to digital, Kindle, Barnes and Noble, whatever platform you have your fiction out there for. Kickstarter is just one more. It's just it's short term. You get it in, it's up for X number of time, then it's gone till you run your next campaign. For the most part, there's a way around that, but we'll get to that later. So just pick what is your expectation? What is your reason for coming to Kickstarter? And then just craft your campaign around those expectations, and you'll be fine. Let me see. I'm just sort of tallying, give me some information here, but I'm gonna current tally on the Kickstarter back. Deej is telling me what I've done on mine, which is up to 287 backers, which makes me extremely happy. I didn't know if I'd reach 5 people, 50 people, 500 people. I think I've got a shot at 500 maybe total by the time we're done here. Again, my goal was to reach as many people as I could. Even one more person doing this better than they were before helps all of us. So that was always my intent, was to see. It was why I set a ridiculously low funding goal. I did it for a $2 PDF. When this PDF goes to Amazon, it's going to be, who knows, between $5 to $7 probably, much more than I set for here on Kickstarter. I made it extremely low for one reason, to reach as many people as I could and try to help make the biggest effect on this market as I could, as fast as I could. So, that was so I had a plan at what I wanted to accomplish. It wasn't how much can I make or can I find 1,000 people. It was, I want every person I can get to get this material to make their campaigns better. And I think I'm accomplishing that. I realize Kickstarter progress can give you an idea for stretch goal amounts, but how do you estimate an initial goal? Oh, that's so tricky. I mean, like I said before, anytime I talk to someone, whatever they think they should do, cut it, at least cut it in half. It's always better to overachieve, especially your first time out. If you've got professional sales on Amazon or other places, that might help you figure out where your initial funding should be. It all depends on what you get. Back to your platform. I just spoke with a first-time campaign runner. They're running a campaign right now, and they set a fairly respectable goal of like $6,000. And I was actually messaging them back and forth and said, if you don't mind me asking, why, for your first time out, congratulations, why did you hit that number? And she actually had a really good response. She goes, well, my husband and I are both big in social media. We have a lot of people we talk to and that follow us. We felt we could mobilize our social media platform to reach this number. Now, so she had a reason. She had stats to back it up, and she probably went higher than I would suggest a first-time writer usually should go, but she had the platform to back her, and they're already over halfway there, which means they should at least fund. Now, if they would have set their goal at 3,000, they would already be funded, and they'd be overfunding, overachieving. And some of the backers might going, oh, we already funded? Well, I'll add a physical copy to my digital pledge or something. That's the benefit of overfunding, which is sometimes your backers, when they see you hit your goal, they start looking for other ways. Oh, this is going to happen. Maybe I'll get more serious. Maybe I'll get more involved with this. And then stretch goals can make them excited about, oh, I want to reach that $3,000 stretch goal. Sure, I'll pick up a copy of the market reports, or in Elder Gods, one of the stretch goals was the poetry book I mentioned earlier, a book on Cthulhu haikus called Haiku Cthulhu. I know, really a stretch on that one, wasn't it? It was just a stretch goal, but it was fun, it was quirky, and people wanted to see how many haikus I could do. They really want to see the haikus, the Cthulhu haikus, and people actually upped their pledge level to help us hit the goal so I had to provide this. It was fun for everybody that way. So again, that's why I say, just always really check your ego at the door, set a realistic goal that you feel you can hit, and then overachieve a little bit. That's the best campaign you could run right there. So, and again, there's more sections on how to set your funding levels in the platform. It all depends on where you are. If you're a brand new writer or a newish writer, there's nothing wrong with $1,000, $500 goal. If you've got some game, if you've got some stuff out there on Kindle working it, you've got access to a Kickstarter list of a few thousand people, shoot for $2,000, $3,000, $6,000. Very good friend of mine has 9,000 people on his active email list that he thinks he can, convert over toward, Kickstarter. And he's like, oh, with all these numbers, I expect to do $25,000. And I said, that's great. Let's cut that in half. 12, 5, 10, before you just, you bet everything on activating your list the first time perfectly, give yourself room to make some mistakes. Give yourself room to play around with this a little bit. And I didn't know if he'd listen to me or not. And then he called me back the other day and said, yeah, I'm going to do 5,000 because that's what I need to make this project work. And everything else is just going to be gravy for me. So that way I'll just do some fun stretch goals to, kind of share it with the fans. I'm like, perfect. There's no wrong answer here, guys. It all comes down to what you think you can do and what your intent is for the campaign. So, and Gary Mugford, let me see you real quick here. First, thanks, Gary. Thanks for being a night off Men's March Madness. Yeah. It also worked out good for me because weekends were just so problematic recently, and I want to get this in. Short attention span, 5 or 6 books sitting. Oh. Yep. And I wonder if the fact that each will not build on the others, not even the single one I have published, means they should temper hopes for Kickstarter. That's tricky, Gary. I mean, so the question was, if you're all over the map on genre or project length or whatever, does that matter? Yes, a little bit, I think. Does it matter a lot on Kickstarter? Not really. So let's say you run your first campaign and you find 200 people, and it's a fantasy novel. Okay, great. And then you got a mystery novel. All right. Now, should you be upset that all 200 people aren't going to like your mystery and may not back you for your mystery? No. Remember, art comes first, then audience. Okay. So maybe those 200 people, if you would have put your mystery up first, you'd be going at it cold, looking for mystery readers, mystery backers. And if you've got 200 people already who have backed you on a project and you have fulfilled that project successfully, some of those people aren't going to be mystery readers. Some of them might just become fans of you. And even though they're like, well, I'm not really a mystery fan, but I loved his fantasy and I want to help him out, I'll pick up the PDF and just see, maybe I'll read it, maybe I won't. You will get those fans who will support you for being a good person if you just go out there and engage with them here on Kickstarter. So why is that a bad thing? It's not. It's called having a publishing house. I mean, not everything Pulse does. We did a Lovecraftian anthology, then we did a nonfiction book. I didn't get probably much of the Lovecraftian audience probably didn't come buy my nonfiction book, but so what? A few of them did. I know a few did. So there's no wrong way to do that. You see what I mean? So while it may not all pile on and keep growing at the same rate, there's never a downside to exploring and expanding. And Kickstarter is a great place to explore because again, you're back to, it doesn't matter if your mindset is, I want to try this, I want to experiment to see what happens. Great. You might find out you have 5 people who are interested. You might find out you had 500 that were interested, and you never would have known without testing the market. So if your goal is to test the market, how do you go wrong? If you only get 1 or 1,000 people to back you, there's no wrong answer. Your goal was to test the market. The market gave you an answer. So yeah, I mean, it helps if you can kind of roll those successes into each other, but don't let it stop you. Seriously, never let the market tell you what you should write or you should publish. Finish the works, get them out there. That's the best thing I can. You'll never hear a better advice than that for any new writer. Finish it, get it in the market, go to the next item. Repeat as necessary. So, Rebecca Kellogg. What has surprised you the most about your experiences with Kickstarter? Oh, wow, that's a tough one. Lots of things have surprised me. Uh, Wow, I don't know where to go with that. I've been surprised in both good and bad ways. Kickstarter can be extremely forgiving on mistakes, and then some of the people on Kickstarter can be extremely unforgiving on mistakes. It happens. Um, but also, people can be just extremely generous. It's like, again, I love. Here's why I love Kickstarter is this. I think initially I was surprised as to how much fan interaction there got to be. I love going to conventions and doing shows and doing panels and interacting with people who like the same things I like, whether it's about my work or some other genre or whatever. It's just fun. In this way, Kickstarter lets me feed that particular need I have to engage with people without the necessarily all the traveling, especially in the year of COVID, where we none of us could travel and there weren't any conventions or trade shows to go to. There's still this aspect we're sharing right here, and that's been great. So, what surprised me the most? The level of just great fandom that's out here that we all have for good works, and the reason why I back dozens of Kickstarters, every month, and I have found some great new authors and some great fun projects and games, and I back in lots of different categories, and I'm still surprised occasionally. While I was surfing the day, I went, oh, what a brilliant idea! Back, just it was fun. So I think as surprises go, that's probably the best one. The Easter egg quality of just discovering something, discovering a new item, discovering a new writer that I would never have found before, is always great. Hi Sean, how you doing? Sam, glad you're. I'm just reading through here now, looking for. Let's see, looking down to Gary to Chris York again. Stretch goals versus add-ons. Oh, that's a tough one. Because the reason why it's a tough one is this one's in a bit of a state of flux. Kickstarter just implemented a new add-on. You may have seen it when you backed best practices, that there's now like an add-on page that comes right behind the pledge page. Generally, the way add-ons have worked in the past, the way they mostly are working, you back a project, and stretch goals are great, and they give you free stuff. And then at the end of the campaign, you may want to grab an add-on or two. An add-on being like, oh, I backed your fantasy novel, but oh, I see you have a fantasy anthology. I'm going to add that. That's an add-on. Just a quick little store purchase. And Chris, I'm not sure you didn't mean rewards versus add-ons, because stretch goals are a whole other animal. But I'll try to answer both those questions just in case. So add-ons, the new add-on feature, it's really nice. And Kickstarter is always trying to make this better for us. They really do a good job of really trying to improve their product over time. I'm very happy with that. But the add-on feature isn't where I would put it. And it's hard to get back into it. You've got to go back in and change your pledge and then change it back to get the exact pledge you want if you want to pull the add-on screen back up. It's a little clunky still. But so if you're doing it as a reward, rewards should be about the primary product with occasionally an extra thrown in. Like you saw, I did the best practices guide digital, best practices physical, and then in between there was the digital with the market reports, then the physical, then the physical with a consultation. I mean, so I try to keep it focused on best practices guide and the things you need, and the market reports were kind of an extension of that. That's like the follow-on material I plan to do outside. I'll always be revising best practices, but there will be immediate stuff I want to put out there for people, which is why I invented the market reports, so I can get the information out there as fast as possible. And so I focused on that. And if you saw, I had a reward that had the market reports in it, but I didn't want to just do everything and report, everything and report, everything and report. I didn't want 3-4 different and report rewards in there to clutter it up. So I also made it an add-on. So anyone who grabbed like the physical book because they wanted the ring-bound, lay flat on the desk edition of the book, they can also grab the digital market reports as an add-on in their checkout line. So you have to make a judgment call about that. I tend to not like super cluttered. I don't like 15, 20 rewards on the side of the screen. I would prefer 5 to 7, I think is a great number. Maybe even 3 to 5 is even, for fiction, maybe be better. And then put the other stuff into the add-on section. Make, you know, if you have other anthologies or collections or novels or series, absolutely do one big reward. You know, the Chris York romance set, 7 novels for X dollars, and they can pick it right there. But then, does it hurt to throw the books into an add-on section too? No, you can do both. It's perfectly fine. So if you met stretch goals are a weird. They're not really part of rewards or add-ons. Stretch goals are the things you design to keep that energy level going as the Kickstarter is going. It's ways to engage or excite your backers. Hey, if we get here, you get this. If we do here, you get this. And I made mine a lot more experiential. Like, if you know, I'll do the video. I'll do, you know, I'll get some guest lectures in here to do a little some little 5-minute drop-ins. I try to make it things that would help us all engage each other and discuss what's going on in the market, because that's what best practices is all about, is dissecting and sharing information. None of you are my competition. None of you are each other's competition. We are all in this market together, and readers don't think that way. If a reader sees something they like, they hardly ever go, well, I can only get one book. No, they only get one book maybe right now, but tomorrow or the next week, they'll need another book. So I never look at it like a competitive manner. We are building a market here, and the stronger the market gets, the better for all of us. I hope that answered the question. And I've got 10 minutes to go. I've rambled through 50 minutes of this. I love it. Let's see here. Fiction versus nonfiction. Is there anything distinctly different between the two in running a Kickstarter for them? Nonfiction was a little harder on stretch goals. Was probably the biggest thing I noticed, and add-ons. Mostly because I don't, even if I was a big nonfiction writer, people who were grabbing my crowdfunding your fiction, nonfiction book, probably weren't going to grab my, political diatribe nonfiction book, and not my how to, build how to the care and feeding of chickens in backyard chickens. Those really have no overlap, or very, very little. So nonfiction was just a little harder from that point of view. Is that your works might be a little too scattered, but the overall structure was the same. Just coming up with stretch goals and the add-ons. Do you want my book of poetry? I hope it's really fun, but not really germane to the crowdfunding your fiction, except as an example. So that was a big one. And even a bad experience to turn into a good one. Oh, DJ was just saying how even a bad Kickstarter can turn into a good one eventually. People learn. People make mistakes. You are all going to make mistakes in a campaign. Who cares? Seriously. Give yourself permission right now. There is no perfect campaign. I haven't seen one ever. Even the ones that, I've seen ones that have, run up to like, $5, $8, $10 million. I still see mistakes in them. You're going to make mistakes. The best thing you can ever do is own it and make it good and move on, because some people may not back you ever again. Oh, he forgot to delete. I got 2 shipments instead of 1. I'm not kidding. I've had people yell at me for giving them, because I missed it. Oh, I had to send a second book to them, and they got mad at me for like not putting it all in one package. Yeah, okay, it was a mistake, but I kind of made good on it. But people get mad at for silly reasons sometimes. Just move on. Make it right as best you can, and learn and do it better next time. And people, Deej I know Deej has backed like 2 or 3 campaigns now, including maybe the worst campaign I ever ran, like from 4 or 5 years ago, and he's still around here hanging out, and it's been fun talking to him. So not only as I know Deej backed several of my campaigns, it's been fun getting to know him the last few weeks, just chatting a little bit through messages and stuff. So don't feel bad about that. Give yourself permission to experiment, and permission to fail occasionally. There's no downside. This isn't really, it just costs you a little bit of time, and it could make you a decent income stream as a new market. Let's see here. Looking in the chat window again, and let's see. No more real questions yet that I can see. So I'm just gonna, I'll just kind of talk a bit more until something comes up, or until I hit the goodbyes in 5 minutes. But what's that? What you got, Talon? Talon mentioned I could talk a bit more about bad Kickstarter experiences and how do you make good on it. Own it. If you make a mistake, just own up to it. Tell people, look, guys, we screwed that one up. We're going to work on it. Remember, Kickstarter is not necessarily a straight on market. It's very experiential, and not everything you make, not everything you do is going to work out. You may try something new like an audiobook, and the audiobook might be just flat out not good, bad recording, bad audio, whatever reason. You own it. You move on. If you have to do some refunds, you do it. You as a writer are a small business owner, and if you need to do some customer service repair, you do it. The best thing you can do is say, guys, I'm sorry. We're going to do our best on this one, and we'll just add it to our lessons learned for the next campaign. And that's the best you can do. You will lose some backers, but you will actually gain some really good backers who realize that this isn't always going to work out. If you do your best, they're going to keep following you. I got people I know that are following me right now who have seen my worst campaigns and my best campaigns. So, you just got to keep at it. The Battletech campaign that I ran on tabletop was the weirdest thing because it blew up and went viral. And the first 3 days, we could not catch up with our we were always $100,000 in stretch goals behind where our funding level was. Now, it wasn't because we were making lots and lots of money. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I loved about it was the energy. We literally are on a rocket that's going straight up, and we're just holding on for dear life. The energy level of those 3 days was crazy. I got almost no sleep. We were all going, what are we going to do? Because those are a little scary because when you hit something like that, the idea of how much you could crater, if this goes wrong and the rocket goes the other direction, it makes a big hole in the ground. I've seen campaigns do it. Good campaigns that had nothing but wind in front of them, and they just blew a big hole in the ground when they landed. It's a little disconcerting. So, but it wasn't the fact we were making money. It was just the energy and the oh my god nature of it was crazy. So I think other than that, just getting to know backers overall. I mean, just there's been fun interactions we've had through messaging, through the updates. Doing the when we did the Secret Guide book, we actually invited the authors to all do guest poems for my Haiku Cthulhu idea, and just these are things I never would have seen before. And so I was able to use a stretch goal to re-engage the authors of Elder Gods, the Secret Guide to Fighting Elder Gods, and got to see something I never would have got to see. So again, it was just that level of back and forth that was just fun. So I hope that answered most everything going on. I'm just going to wrap up now and just start talking just a bit more about, again, for those who might have missed the beginning, why best practices, why the guide. The whole plan here is to put as many tools in your hands as I can. That really was that's why it was such a small, $2 PDF and a low funding goal, because it didn't matter to me if you wanted the market reports or the physical book. If those are helpful to you, great. If the consultation is helpful to you, great. It's whatever you need. I'm trying to help build this market up because it will help me in the long run as well. Next time I do our next post-publishing, we have a sci-fi anthology called Paradigm Shift. I'm very excited about. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And when we do Paradigm Shift, I want to do like these books again. These really awesome, collector and hardback editions. I look forward to doing these again. So the better we build this market overall, the better my next campaign will be as well. And the better my next campaign does, the better your campaigns will do. And so that's why best practices happened. Like I said, I went to this big writing workshop and said, 50, 60 writers in the room. How many of you have tried Kickstarter? 4 people. And 2 of them were almost apologetic about it. And one of them had done a $5,000 Kickstarter and was almost apologizing that I'm like, what are you talking about? When did you do your next one? Still hasn't done it. That's when I knew we needed to set some expectations. We needed to establish a baseline. So not so we could compare against each other. Never, please guys, never look at your success and go, well, but Loren did this or this person did better or worse. It is not about that. Each project has to stand alone. Each project is going to be different marketing, different funding, different plans. It's about getting a baseline so you can make the best decision you can for your career to open up this new market. Okay, so never compare. Only just say only for what you expected. Did you do better, same, worse that you expected for that project? And if you have a baseline of information out there like we're trying to establish, you'll have ways to measure. You'll have good metrics to measure that success. I think Pasky. Yeah, no, just a thank you. No, thanks for showing up. I mean, I had some good questions here. 24 people here on the Kickstarter. I'm happy about that. On the live stream, I mean, I'm happy about that. If I were to say one thing we can do, for those of you who are here, if this video helped you at all, let me know. Drop me a note in the comments thread. Tell me how was this good, bad, and different? How could I have done it better? I rambled up here a lot because that's what I do, but I hope you had a good time. That was the whole point of doing this. And then just if you want to really help this kick off, grab that link that's in the stretch goals area and put it out on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Just help spread the word to your writing groups, to your friends, and get them involved in this because it's going to benefit all of us for doing it that way. So grab that link, spread it out far and wide. In the meantime, I'll dream up some more stretch goals that will be every stretch goal. The whole idea is it comes back to helping you, not helping me. So what's that, Talon? Oh, yeah, you can subscribe to the Pulse Publishing stream. So when we do future AMAs or videos or whatever, or book trailers, you'll get access to them. So hit the little subscribe button if you don't mind. And thank you all for showing up. It is 7 o'clock, almost on the dot, and I really appreciate this, guys. I hope you had a good time. I'm going to sign off now. Talon, you can cut me off. Have a good night.